Cool. Right, well, let's get cracking, and some more people may kind of join us as we go through. So hopefully you're all aware of what you've come to learn more about. So we'll be going more into kind of the sport welfare funded pilots. So over this session, we'll tell you a little bit more about what the fund is, what it can help with, and kind of some next steps. So first thing, for those of you who don't know us, my name's Shona. My pronouns are they, them. I'm the development manager for sport welfare at Sport Birmingham, part of the kind of national sport welfare network. And my role is kind of overseeing the programme, identifying those opportunities, and kind of working on kind of the bigger partnerships. And I work very closely with Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name's Chris. I am a sport welfare officer, funded through the Sport England, where we're looking to sort of provide more safeguarding welfare support for sport clubs, community organisations, affiliated or unaffiliated, which is part of what we're looking to do with our funded pilots, which is why you're here for tonight. Sorry, so you've just joined. Just to let you know, we are recording this for our purposes, which will go out onto our website, if that's okay with you.
Cool. So we're both going to mention the sport welfare programme there. So Chris, are you okay to just go into a bit more detail about what the programme is?
Yeah. So the sport welfare programme was sort of started sort of early last year to 2024, after sort of a review from gymnastics, which is known as the White Review. They felt there was a long way for grassroots clubs to be more safeguarding minded, and supporting the athletes and the participants, ensuring the safeguarding measures are much more robust than what they are. And the idea is we're looking to try and work with clubs, working through a strategy of these four strands here of connect, offer, support, raise awareness, and able. So that from that, what we're trying to do is provide local and professional support for the club welfare officers, so they're not sort of feeling isolated, but also providing sort of good practice, helping them on their journey, to provide sort of a better safeguarding environment within their club. We're going to try and do this by connecting with like the officers on a more sort of on a personal note, and ensuring that there doesn't become a high turnover of club welfare officers, what we probably sort of see a lot of the time at the moment, and ensuring that they feel that they've got the right support, but also they've got an outlet, and not feeling too sort of distant from the club. We want to offer the one-to-one support to develop safer club cultures. So if maybe the club committee or maybe the participants aren't engaging with safeguarding measures, then how can we look at sort of making that better? Next one is around raising awareness, through sort of promoting campaigns, being at the events, but also ultimately changing the word around safeguarding, and people thinking it's this big, massive, taboo subject where it's all about the sort of the really difficult and the really sort of the big disclosures, where actually we want to try and look at the stages, the preventive stages through that, before anything like that happens. And lastly, enable. So we can support and provide to sort of around the best training or the learning that will help them to become more self-efficient. What we'd like to see is them sort of come to us, have that guidance, and then sort of almost take off with it, which is part of this funded pilot program that you're here for tonight. So yeah, that is pretty much more about that, the sport welfare network.
So as Chris has kind of gone over there, we are trying to improve the whole landscape for clubs and groups when it comes to welfare and safeguarding. The the reason that kind of we're doing this fund is we don't really know how to do that. We have kind of our universal offer, but no one's really done any research with kind of small clubs on the ground who are struggling in this area. What is actually going to help? There's a great tendency to kind of put more training in, but there is a huge amount of training out there around welfare and safeguarding for sport, and we know it can be quite overwhelming. So we wanted to utilise some of the financial resource that we've got to work with clubs on the ground to explore new ways of doing things. So we want to look at what works and why, and what doesn't and why. And we're hoping with this fund that not only are we able to help a lot of kind of clubs and groups to improve around their welfare and safeguarding, but really learn about how they improved. And we know that each club is going to be different, each place is different, each community is different, each sport is different, and so we really want to learn about what aspects of interventions are positive and what aspects of interventions don't quite land, so that we can then take that learning, take the things that we know are going to be really good, and we can replicate them on scale. And when we work with future clubs, we can look at, okay, this is the kind of place that you're in, this is the kind of resource you've got, this is the kind of history that you've got, based on work that we did with clubs previously. We think this kind of thing could work. Let's make it happen for you. So not only is this an opportunity for you guys to kind of improve your welfare and safeguarding at your club, it is a way to kind of really help us to go out there and make things better on the whole. Our ultimate goal is that no one experiences anything but positive experiences when they're being physically active. And unfortunately, we know that there are a lot of people who do struggle with negative outcomes, and we really want to make it so that everyone feels that they can be active and be safe and well in doing so. So that's a bit about kind of where this fund came from. And hopefully you guys can kind of see the journey that we're hoping to kind of go on as an active partnership. And this is the first step in what will be kind of several years of intervention. So that's the why. How does it work?
Yeah, thanks, Shona. Yeah, so how does it work? So what we want to do is we didn't want to sort of have lots of like guidelines or anything like that. We want sort of to see sort of what ideas the clubs, community groups have about what they can maybe put this money towards to. Obviously, there has to be that welfare and safeguarding element. So the idea is that you can tell us that idea, and we can work together to form that idea with a little bit of our experience. What sort of information that there might need to be on things, or how we might put that that activity on to sort of make it more engaging, something like that. And then what we'll try and do then is just be that provider if needed. And sort of just be that guidance and support. So through that, and again, we've got some little sort of ideas on our next slide, just to sort of push us through some ideas, just to get sort of some thinking. But obviously, these aren't just tied down to needing to be these ideas. So some of the ideas can be bringing in a coach to support the club welfare officer and bringing the committee closer. So sometimes we've heard that committees sort of disregard maybe safeguarding or don't think it's their issue. It's just the club welfare officer. So that's where that isolation comes from. So it might be what we can do is provide that network for the club welfare officer away. So maybe through sort of locality or the same sports, but across the UK. But also the committee are working closely together. We want it to be an instrumental part of a committee. So like finance and sort of recruitment and all those other things that happen behind the scenes to ensure that actually that this is one of the mainstays and sort of the sort of the core elements of the session of the committee. Wanted to get coaches onto in-person safeguarding training. So for whatever reasons, clubs just can't maybe finance that, or they don't know where to look to find, or it can be a little bit confusing because there's a lot of information out there about which safeguarding course, so maybe it gets a little bit confusing which one they should be using, which will help them, which make them a plot affiliated within their club with their NGB. But there's other things such as designing some resources. So there might be things around little QR codes on like key rings, which we can go onto the children's bags. So parents and children have access to a QR code, which will take them to the club's incident report form around safeguarding. So if they've got anything that's they want to disclose or just to sort of make a concern, then it's quite a little bit more straightforward, and also being a bit more tech savvy and sort of reach into that younger audience. So that might be an idea. Make an outdoor space more welcoming, and having those safeguarding conversations in place. Ensuring that those things are really tied down from obviously things that might trip and slips and those things, even though it's a small thing, it makes a real difference. But also around a bit of coach education, with supporting some of the coaches and understanding who they're delivering to. So if it's very grassrootsy, then we're not maybe finding that elite athletes, and maybe just altering that approach and giving that rationale to support that. And then a couple of the more sort of, let's say, traditional ways is obviously working and supporting clubs around the DBSE processes, and also sort of financing that, and also updating the policies and procedures, maybe with a consultant or through other means which make it compliant with the national governing body, or with like a sort of organisation around safeguarding, like the CPSU, depending on what organisation you are. So those are just some ideas, but essentially, if you've got an idea which you think it could take off, then we would love to hear it and be part of that, and then be able to support that through the financial part of things. So yeah, if there's any other questions around that, then just feel free to put them into the chat.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so we really wanted to kind of get across in this section that it can be anything, as long as it's related to welfare and safeguarding and related to physical activity, we can do anything. And that kind of, leads on to what the steps looks like. So the first step is you can book time in with us and have a conversation. We can have a one-to-one conversation. We can come out to you and have a chat about what that could look like. It really, really is kind of the sky's the limit. We want to try new things. We want to experiment, and we want to really get across that if it doesn't work, that's okay, because we can learn from that. It really is unrestricted, this kind of funding. So when you kind of got a bit of an idea, you can then complete the application form, and then we also have a safeguarding discovery tool that we'll ask you to complete as well. That safeguarding discovery tool tells us more about where your club or group is at right now. And the application is more about what you would like to do. We will then kind of have more of a conversation to kind of refine it further and start thinking about who we could signpost to. We are doing it as we would procure and do all the payments, so we wouldn't be, you guys wouldn't have to handle the money and find partners. We would do that. So in that refining stage is where we'd be kind of looking at what partners do we have, what organisations do we know of that could be of use with this. We would then kind of look at approving or declining the application. It's highly unlikely we'd decline very many. However, at that stage is when we kind of look at, we actually might conclude that what you need is something which is better suited to another fund. So we might kind of do some signposting. We would then source and finance the intervention. The goal is to get that done by the end of March. There isn't kind of a hard deadline there, but that is kind of what we're hoping for, what we're working for, to kind of get the money out the door by the end of March and get the intervention cracking. as we've, kind of mentioned quite a few times, this is a learning exercise. So we would have someone from kind of Sport Birmingham would come out at a time that suits you, maybe during a training session, before or after a committee meeting, something like that, to just have a bit of a chat and a kind of an initial informal interview to find out a bit more. So we've got that safeguarding discovery tool just to find out a little bit more about where you guys are at, how you're feeling. And then we'd look to kind of get the intervention going. We'd want a midway check-in with Sport Birmingham staff that again would be kind of, informal interview style to find out more about what's happening, how is it working, how's everyone feeling, are you coming up against challenges, that kind of thing. But then when delivery concludes, we would love to get kind of some conclusions done in June. So, some of the interventions kind of coming to a close by the end of June. At which point we'd have an end of project interview, again, just to get an idea of how everything went, what were the blockers, what went really well, how did people feel about it. And then we'd have a chat about what to do next. Ultimately, this fund we're trying to do kind of volume with small pots of money at this stage. So we're looking at 750 to 800 per club or group. It's kind of what we're looking at, and the fund will stay open until all the money is accounted for. There isn't kind of a hard application deadline. However, obviously the sooner it kind of gets in, the less chance that you'll be affected by, kind of, we're done. We've run out of money. So because it is, kind of a smaller fund and smaller intervention, we'd then be looking at what else can we do. So Sport Birmingham has loads of great initiatives and programmes that offer really good wraparound support. So we'd be looking at what can we do ongoing to kind of keep that progress. And then when, kind of with all the projects have concluded, we would then go through a bit of a learning exercise. So we'd look at all of the information that we've got and see if we can draw some conclusions. And then we would be looking to circulate that across Birmingham in terms of what we've learned about what works and what doesn't. So I'll just quickly show you guys the application form, just to give you a bit of an idea of what to expect. Excuse me. So it's pretty simple, straightforward form. Hopefully everyone agrees. So I was putting some kind of dummy data. So it's just your kind of basics so that we can get in touch with you guys. Just let us know if you're affiliated to a national governing body or kind of anyone. We are especially interested in working with groups that are affiliated to a national governing body, but that's not a kind of a die-hard must. So we're going to go like, yes, I'm affiliated to the Active Partnerships national team. Let's go. So this is kind of the main bulk of the application. So just kind of telling us a little bit about your current structure, and the kind of the core problem or the area that you'd like to improve throughout the pilot. Tell us a bit more about kind of your strengths and barriers when it comes to welfare and safeguarding. What are the things that you do really well? What are the things that you've kind of struggled with? We're going to ask be as honest as you want to be at this stage. The more honesty, the better. We are looking to kind of work with clubs and groups that have struggled in this area. So struggling is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a really good thing at this point to look, because we want to really work with those clubs that have had their challenges and help you to really overcome and grow. So then kind of a bit of information about what kind of thing you'd like to do, what kind of benefits you'd like to bring about. And as we've kind of said, though, if you don't know exactly what you want to do, that's fine. Just give us a bit of an idea. These are some kind of really helpful structures that we are weaving through a lot of our work. You can read more about them on the link here. They're from the Anne Craft Trust. And it just gives us a bit of an idea of what areas you're looking for your intervention to have those benefits in. So is it about your kind of your governance around welfare? Is it about making the policy happen? Is it about getting everyone to that right level of training and development? Is it about making sure you've got the right people in the right roles? Is it about those kind of codes of conduct? Or is it about actually something's happened and we need to do something, and that's an area that you want to improve? And then if you have an idea of kind of budget, this is where you can put it in. If you don't have one, just leave it blank. That's totally fine. It's just so that we can get a bit of an idea. And then the next page is just kind of a couple of standard checks around confirming that you understand the timelines and interviewing and that kind of thing. So that's what the application form looks like. hopefully it's a fairly kind of simple, easy to get through application form. The link is on the web page in that kind of news page on our website where you signed up for this session. Any questions that you've got about that, feel free to email them, chuck them in chat, and we can kind of go through it. So if I go back to where I was, so that's kind of what that whole process looks like. So in terms of immediate next steps, have a conversation with us about what you'd like to do, what kind of support you'd like, or if you're looking at it going, I have absolutely no idea, that's also fine. Like, let's chat, let's have a conversation. You can book time with us. There's a booking link in my email signature that you can find on the email where I sent you the link to this session that says kind of book time with me, and you can book in a meeting. If you've got a good idea, go ahead and complete the application. Ping it over to us and we can start that conversation. And if you have any kind of questions, if you're not quite sure if this is the right fund for you, the right opportunity, you can ask us any questions that you've got. You can ask us now, you can ask us on email, you can email us in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever you want, or you can give us a call as well.